Thanks for watching this Sunburnt Country Music interview. My name is Sophie. I do all the interviews here. In fact, I do everything at Sunburnt Country Music because I'm the only person here on the channel. But that's fine with me because it means I get to talk to all these wonderful artists, including today's guest, Fanny Lumsden, who is a suprema of Australian country music, a dynamic live performer, an amazing songwriter, great singer, in fact, superlative singer. So I've spoken to Fanny several times in the past, always looking forward to talking to her again. And today is no different. So I hope you enjoy this chat with Fanny Lumsden. Fanny Lumsden has won 9 Golden Guitars, 2 ARIA Awards, and 3 AIR Awards, and for very good reason. She is unique and uniquely wonderful in Australian country music, and this year she's taken that music to the United Kingdom, Ireland, and on tour with Paul Kelly. Her latest single is Look at Me Now, and she is on tour in Australia in February, and personally, I can't wait. Hello, Fanny.
Hi.
How are you going?
I'm so good. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. It's a lovely day where you are. If someone is listening, not watching, they are not going to be able to see the amazing vista behind you there in the Upper Murray.
Yeah, it is a beautiful sunny day. There's lots of spring grass, which is a relief. Little bit warm for this time of the year, but still lovely.
Yeah, it's gorgeous, and I often see photos of it on your socials, and people can go there. They want, but I'm actually going to start with your new single, "Look at Me Now." Thanks for the another earworm because it's
Ah,
I find my mouth opening at random times and the chorus comes out. So you've said of this song that the amount of no's you experienced in the music industry is wild, and at a certain point, I'm wondering because the song is about your progress through your career. I'm wondering if at a certain point you realized the no's were coming because you were doing something right, not something wrong.
oh, that's so nice. Yeah, I don't think I ever doubted what I was doing was right. And I think that I am so grateful for all the no's in the early days, especially just because it allowed me space to create exactly who I wanted to be and how I wanted to say that, like in a way that I knew connected with people. Because the only people that, like, the only things that were there determining that was me creating the art and the people that liked it. And so there was nothing in the middle that was stopping it or changing it, or making decisions or saying you can do this or can't do that. So yeah, I think I always just had this like maybe like deluded belief that there was some worth to what I was doing.
I think that was correct because I was actually listening to your 2012 EP, Autumn Lawn, back when
Lol.
your band was called the Thrill Seekers, not the Prawn Stars. But it's all there, the stories, the energy, and the unique sound. And it was just because I hadn't listened to it for a little while, but I was thinking, yeah, you knew who you were right from the start.
Yeah, I remember having this like light bulb moment. It was really funny. When I was living in Sydney, like way back in around 2010, I think, or 2011. And it was when Frankie magazine kind of came out and was really like, like that really twee era stuff. And like everyone was like really into like crochet stuff and kitsch things. And I was like, this is literally how I grew up. I was like, are you kidding me? I was like, this is my grandma's house, like all of this kind of like put on thing. I was like, this is growing up with the CWA. Like this is literally how it is. And I remember being like, oh, I've got legit, like my stories are legit. Like people like this stuff. And that, yeah. So I remember having that kind of real moment, being like, oh, this is fine. This is real.
Yeah, I love that. This is growing up with the CWA, I guess.
Yeah.
Because anyone who's only interacted with the CWA at the Sydney Royal Easter Show won't understand the extent of it. Yeah.
Yeah, this is the Country Women's Association, which makes it sound so posh when you say it like that. But it really, it's just like like it's a very old tradition and where women would come together to basically catch up and like it's like a mental health group, really. But they would also like all bake and then you would have to like, and then they would supply delicious food for all the events that would happen. And they would also like crochet things and they'd make jam and they'd have like all this kind of amazing kind of. We actually got sent a calendar from a CWA group not that long ago, which was a nude calendar um, of all the CWA ladies in the Central West. And oh my God, I've never been so grateful for a present in my life. They're like, in like the chook yard, like no clothes. I was just like, you guys are iconic. So thanks. Shout out to those guys.
But now that you mentioned, we brought up the CWA and said that, basically it's a mental health organization, I can see actually the threads of this in your work, right? Because the CWA is an organization where if someone's a newcomer to a town, they can join the CWA, they can have an immediate community, they can have their story heard actually, and they'll hear stories from other people. And I can see how your shows are sort of like a big sub CWA meeting in that they're great for mental health. It's about community and connection and about stories. And not that there's food involved, but there could be.
There should be. There used to be, but now you need licenses. Yeah.
Yeah. So I could,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. Sorry, go on.
I, yeah, I think that growing up, going to community events in the country where everyone had to come, like there's no option for other people like you to choose or not to come. Like everything was for everyone. And I think that growing up in a small community like informed how one, you can communicate with everybody at all of those levels, two, how you motivate people all from all those levels, and three, that like that's the only way to do it. Like it just kind of made perfect sense to me to have events where everyone could come along, they could like share an experience, they could have like a catch up with some neighbor, and then they could just experience some joy and just have a good time. And so I think that like so strongly informed. So shout out to all of the events in the Talimba Hall growing up, including the CWA.
And you have been back to this Talimba Hall with your Country Halls tour. So I imagine that was a nice moment to bring that back. Now, in the single, Look at Me Now, that you have a line about being a late bloomer, which when I heard it, I was like, oh, well, I think, I don't think Fanny's a late bloomer, but I guess it's because there is such cultural pressure to do everything young, right? Like if you haven't burst out, if you haven't made the top of the charts at 21, then you're a failure. But to me, it seems like you're actually right on time with everything.
Oh, thanks. I mean, technically, yeah, because like there's no rules around it. But yeah, it was more just a note to like the kind of the pressure of like the music industry and like which I don't think exists actually. I think it's disintegrating. Where like age isn't as important as it used to be. Like I don't think it's as important anymore, but it's still a hangover, right? There's still a hangover there. And so it was just kind of like an acknowledgement of like that pressure. But like I absolutely don't believe in it. But it's hard sometimes not to like take a nod. But yeah, my first record came out when I was 28. And that I agree was right on time. No one needed to hear from me when I was 21. Like, nope. Like those stories, nope. That was just, I needed to keep growing and not be sharing what I thought was 21-year-old wisdom, because that's not wisdom.
Correct. Yes. As someone who's older than 28 by quite a way, I agree.
Yeah.
Sorry,
I mean, there
21.
are some exceptions. There are exceptions to the rules. So, like, you're out there and you've just created like the best piece of work ever, and you're 21. Well, you may be the exception to the rule, but I definitely wasn't. Not me.
I think most of us aren't. And the stories just get better and better as you get older, I think. Now, the video for Look at Me Now was made by your husband and collaborator, co-conspirator, some might say, Dan Freeman. Down to the wire, it was.
Oh my God, we've done this kind of thing before. Like we're famous for this kind of stuff, like working way to the last minute. Like when we were working with a record label, they used to just like give us blanket, like they would just like whatever. They never would see anything before it was out because we just never would get it to them on time. But this one was crazy. Like it was like I remember 40 minutes to go going down and he was still doing final edits, like he was still cutting, like he hadn't even, and then at like 5:30 it was coming out at 8 o'clock, 7:30 he was like just starting the grade, like doing the color grade. Like he absolutely smashed it. Like I just, and he'd stayed up all night as well doing it. We just had a lot of stuff on and we hadn't had time to do it. And we were meant to be having a holiday with our kids at the beach where my friend lived nearby. So he'd just gone to her house and set up the laptop downstairs and just like smashed it out overnight. But yeah, we like it uploaded and then the countdown on YouTube started like that. It was crazy. Bit of drama.
I know, and having seen it a few times, I don't know how he did it. So if anyone hasn't seen it, it's basically a lot of quick cuts from various things throughout your career. So from the music videos to some live footage to behind the scenes, all sorts of things. And I'm looking at it thinking, how much did Dan have to go through, number one, to choose everything? And then he obviously had a story to tell and he was looking for things to put in.
Yeah, he it was 22 hard drives he went through, which was because it's like all of our footage. For those of you who haven't seen it, basically we use footage for the like from about 2011 all the way through till now, and we wanted to yeah, like there was an arc and there was like he had like we kind of talked a lot about how we would structure it and we didn't want to do it entirely chronological. We wanted to make sure it was a bit more jumpy and like kind of feel a bit more frenetic, like a career actually feels like well ours does. And so yeah, we kind of didn't want it to go fully, but we did want to end it, like have that final chorus and then the outro part at the Paul Kelly tour. And like so that part we like did kind of want it to like build to this climax and only have that stuff at the end. But every other bit, yeah, we also it also features like almost every musician that's ever played with us is in there. Like all of our team members are in there somewhere. Like family members. There's a lot of that kind of stuff, like a lot of little like Easter eggs of things that we have always featured in our clips. And yeah, the one thing we did forget though, which is a huge oversight, and for long-time followers, you will know this about our video clips, we missed Dan's sip. Dan's sip. Now, I know this sounds ridiculous that anyone who's listening's never heard before, but Dan's sip, in every video clip, we've done like 18 full, like, music videos over the years. And in every single one, somewhere in there, Dan is taking a sip of a drink, some sort of drink, in every single clip. And so we can't believe that. But I did think maybe we could do an entire clip of just his sips.
Well, that could be like the outtakes of the Look at Me Now
Yeah.
video. He can just, yeah, that's that's content.
Yeah, super kit. It's the super sip.
It's a super sip. And yes, so you and Dan have won awards for your videos as well as you winning awards for the music. And anyone who hasn't seen your back catalogue, sometimes I will just go and look at some of your videos for the lols if I need a little pick me up. I just needed some Fanny and Dan joy. Pretty Little Fools is often the contender for that, and Totem Tennis, I've got to say. But I'm mentioning this because you two taught yourself how to make videos. You did not go to any kind of school or course. I think I remember you saying you learned it on YouTube.
Yeah, we were just talking about this yesterday, Dan and I were because maybe something came up on social media, like how like, there's a lot of tutorials these days online, and we were looking at one, and Dan was like, "Oh, I've been doing that all the time. I didn't know it was called that." He just purely, we've both just gone on instinct, like whatever, like a pure instinct is basically how we learned how to do it. I've always known exactly how we want to see things, and so does he. He's his amazing eye and vision, and so when we know exactly how we want to see it, then we're just like, okay, how do we do that? Like, and then we just figure it out. But yeah, the first time we ever made a video clip, he's literally Googling how to use Final Cut Pro. He's good now. But like, yeah, it's pretty funny.
And also, actually, I remember you think you posted something around the time of posting the clip for Look at Me Now, saying that you knew from the start that video was going to be part of your story. So that's that whole conception of, I guess, how to reach audience. It wasn't just I need to put a song out and that'll do the job. It's actually there's this whole complementary suite of things that can be done. I think your merch also feeds into that.
Yeah, I'm a very visual person. Like when I'm writing a song, like I have to be able to see it. I just realized this last night when I was starting a new book. Like I read a lot, and I'm starting a new book, and I realized I can't get into a book until I can see it. And I was like, it took me a bit on this book, and I was like, oh, like flapping around trying to figure out what's going on. So I think it's the same with songs, and that's why video features so heavily. We also just live in like I come from like such a visually stunning like upbringing, and then where I live now, it's all very diverse kind of in terms of its like landscape, and that's a huge part as well. And so I always want to tell these very visual stories, and so video just obviously makes sense. And we just had to adapt to the different different types of platforms and things as we've gone along. But it'll always remain such a strong part, I think.
Thankfully, because I always look forward to hearing you. Now, part of what was on that video was some of your time in the UK. This year, you toured the UK. I think was it the third time? Um,
Fourth.
fourth. I initially wrote fourth, and then I thought, did I was trying to
Yeah, no,
find out
you're right. It is silly, but it's the fourth. Yeah.
because I think did you do two last year or something like that? There was a
Yeah.
couple. I thought there was
Yeah.
1 year with a couple. So the first time you toured, you were there for Glastonbury. You played Glastonbury, and you added some dates, and it was a punt. Really, I think for you it was like going over there. Who knew if there were going to be any audiences for extra shows? So that was probably a bit nerve-wracking at the time.
Yeah, absolutely. Like the Glastonbury thing was so wild. Like there's like things in my career that I know how hard I've hustled for things and I know exactly how I got there. But things like Glastonbury like weren't even on the bucket list. Like they were just like so actually, to be honest, I remember in 2020 saying my 10-year plans to play Glastonbury, and then we did it like 2 years later, and it's just crazy. So getting that was just we were expecting no one to be there as well, and then it was just packed. And look, we just were so confused by how enthusiastic the audiences are over there. So we were like, "What?" And they were like, "Oh, it was amazing. We loved it." And they all just stood right up the front, and they got really excited. So then, yeah, we didn't know. So we did these kind of like small shows in Ireland and England, and just to kind of give it a crack and see if anyone came, and they did. They sold out these little. They were just tiny shows, but they sold out. And then off the back of that Glastonbury performance, we got an agent, and then the next time we go back, we don't go back for a support tour. We go back for a headline. I don't know. We've really done things the hard way every time, but yeah, it's been really incredible to see how the audience is just really enthusiastic and open. They like looked good. I came. I was like, what? And now they're a fan for life. So, and they all still like steal our set lists, and they like do all this stuff like they've been. It's hilarious. I think after coming from Australia and building, like cutting my teeth in Australia, especially rural Australia, in places where people maybe don't go to gigs very much or ever. So like that whole educational process is part of the show, whereas over there they well and truly know how to go to gigs. They are very well practiced, and so yeah, it's been amazing. I also haven't had to change anything about myself, whereas I was told that a lot by the industry in quotes, but that I would need to dampen down my Australianness and stories and change words, and not at all. They love it. They love it. Yeah, it's been really fun, and also it's been really surprising. I thought maybe it would be a lot of expats, but it's not. It's like a lot of locals, so that's been really exciting.
Yeah, it's interesting that feedback to change the Australianness because, of course, Australians take things from the Northern Hemisphere. In fact, I call it the cultural imperialism from the North. We
Yeah.
accept that all the time. We just think, oh, that's normal. But there's this built-in cultural cringe where you have Australians telling other Australians to de-Australianize themselves if they want to
Yeah.
be successful overseas.
I think it's the same as every other person who ever told anyone to change in this, like any kind of creative pursuit. Like, I just don't think you can listen to anybody else if you can be as true to yourself as possible in every circumstance. Like, that's what connects.
Yeah. And so this year you went back and it was quite extensive. It was a tour of the UK and Ireland. There were a lot of dates. So I can only, I know how hard you work because you're self-managed. You do everything yourself. But I would think there's a little bit of magic there. So even though you put everything
Yeah.
in place to get to that point where people are turning up for an extensive UK Ireland tour, this almost feel like this is just magic. I'm on the other side of the world.
I couldn't agree more. Like, it did feel like there was something magical going on. I think just from being such a hustler and like always knowing like there's a feeling that you get, like you just, like, I just know that like when we turn up to a gig that I have hustled every person into the room. But yeah, there was this magic that kind of felt like incredible. And I think there's this also freedom of like starting again in a new kind of like place and starting from the start. Maybe there's less pressure or something to like hold up some kind of standard of, I don't know, industry wise or something. Like you just get to go out there and give it everything. And yeah, it felt like magic. It was so fun. We had a beautiful crew. We had the kids in the tour van. Dan and I drive the van, and we did. I started the tour off actually opening for Paul Kelly over there, solo doing his European tour, which was honestly, that's his own story. That was absolutely incredible. Yeah, started the Europe tour off with Paul Kelly. I call it a bit of a Paul Kelly sandwich, if you will. And I just landed, I was solo, and he was just doing it as a duo. So there was just four of us in the tour van. So it's just Paul Kelly and I in the back of the van, and then Dan and our sound guy Tom in the front, and then we just drove all around Europe playing shows. And I honestly, so the magic started there, that's for sure, because Paul Kelly's an incredible human being, and we had such a fun time. We really got along well, all of us, and talked about poetry and books, and like, had lots of silly games, and it was like did workouts in car parks, and swam at 40 foot in Dublin, and went to the James Joyce Museum, and went to dinner at an incredible musician, Paul Grady's house, and like we just did all this really beautiful things, and it was really special. And then the gigs were great too, obviously. So that was a good start. And then my band came over, and my family, and we started, and we did 23 shows, 2 days of rehearsals, and 2 days recording in like little under 28 days. And we didn't have a day off, we didn't have a night off, we just went so hard. I've never gone so hard in my life, but I don't know what happened, it just felt so incredible. So yeah, loved it.
2 days of recording. That is interesting news.
Yeah. We're going to be recording a lot more in the next few months. So we've got lots and lots to share.
And also, I'm just going to remind listeners/viewers one more time, you had your two children with you. Now, the logistics of this defy my comprehension, to have the band, the kids, and the instruments on the road.
Yeah, it is a monstrous undertaking. It is, luckily, logistics is a little hyper focus of mine. So that's good. For some reason, it really suits the way my brain works, is like integrating like timings, maps, like lots of people and coordination. Like, I don't know why, I just like find it really easy. And so but it is a lot. It's a lot to kind of undertake. And the kids did incredibly. They're like 3 and 7, and they're in their car seats in the back row of the van. And we did have a girl on the road helping us out, which was great. But that takes a lot of coordination in itself anyway. They did really well. There was lots of, there was one week where it was like around the middle of the tour. So it's like around, I don't know, week 4 or 5 or 6 or something, maybe 6 for me. And it was a 6-show week. So we had 6 shows, and with the day we had off, we'd traveled back from Ireland. We traveled it was like a big 18-hour travel day or something. And then 6 shows and the travel in that. And we had this one day where we started the day in Manchester, and then we went and played a show in London that night. And then we stayed in Bristol, which is like 4 hours show, then 2 to 3 hours out to Bristol. And so it was like 2 a.m. arrived out of Bristol after the show, and I was driving the van, and arrived, and my toddler had like this raging fever. And so then I went to sleep at 6:30 a.m. and then slept for an hour and a half, and then we hopped in the van, and then we went to a festival, and we played this amazing festival called Beautiful Days. And then we hopped back in the van, and then what was meant to be a 2-hour drive up the highway, thanks to like some road closures, ends up being this like 4-hour adventure where we're like on this one-way like tiny lane with like 150 cars that ends up being a one-way, a dead end. So like 150 cars turning around on a one-way. It was like messed up. We end up driving in a paddock and following a deer, and like it just, honestly don't know how. Like, of course the toddler is screaming because he was sick, and so like that's happening at the same time. And it was so like a farce. I was driving still, and I like finally get to the hotel again at like 2:30 or something, and then again he was really sick. I didn't go to sleep all night. Finally got about an hour in the morning, and then we hopped back in the van, and then went to another festival. I landed on site straight into press, and I just remember, like, I just would have been going hard on adrenaline, but I just remember looking at my band member and being like, I think I was born to do this. I feel fine.
Well, I also think, sorry, go on.
No, it's all good.
I was going to say, I think the car park workouts you referred to are also a big part of it. You were fit. That
Yeah.
helps, I would think. Yeah.
Yeah, that we actually take that really seriously these days. Like tour fitness and health on tour, we all do. Like we don't drink on tour, at all. There's no partying. There's like I actually have contracts with my bands these days, my band members these days, and like part of it is health, like because I just need everyone to be able to hold themselves together in the most intense physical situations, with no sleep. And yeah, we like I do lots of yoga on the road, and when I can fit it in, and yeah, so we take that seriously.
Yeah, well, and it also means you can recover quickly enough to immediately go on tour with Paul Kelly when you're back in Australia, which is what you did. You had a gig in the UK on the 23rd of August. I looked up the dates, and then you were back with Paul Kelly on a national tour, first date, 26th of August. So I was trying to calculate that, thinking, well, she wouldn't have had time to get over a jet lag. So I can only imagine there was some kind of vitamin supplement involved in addition to the fitness.
Took a few vitamin C. Yeah, actually, that was so funny. We really wanted to do the festival, the Long Road, which is a really like great festival in the UK, and we got offered a spot. And so the only way we could do it was say, like, be like, okay, we have to go on as early as we can on the main stage, like the first spot. And so we went on and we opened the day for them, and then jumped off the stage, ran around, found some crew showers backstage, and then um, jumped in the van straight to Heathrow, like straight there. The kids were already in their like little jammies ready to go on the plane. We go, like, luckily made it because you got to go the carnets, and there's lots of logistics and silly things that you have to do with the touring. We finally make our plane, and then we land in Perth, straight to Perth. And then we landed like middle of the night, went to bed at 5 a.m., got up at 12, and we were straight into our tech rehearsal with the full band at 12 o'clock that day. And then the tour started the next day. So yeah, tight, but I felt very pro. Like it felt very pro, you know.
Yeah, look, it's very rock and roll, for lack of a better
It
term,
was.
but also, but you know, I watch in awe as I see these things happen, because I know how much work goes into it, and I know you say you're a hustler and things, but there's also, I think, this through line of trusting the flow of your energy, if that makes sense. That you just like, well, I'm going with it. I'm not pushing the river. I'm flowing with the river, and I'm not fighting it either.
Yeah, absolutely. I also love it. Like, I think that this is the kind of maybe underestimated because someone asked me about this recently about the grind of touring, and I was like, oh no, I love it. Like,
Mm.
I love the airports. I love backstage. I love sound check. I love, I love being in the van. Like, I just love touring. So, and I'm not lying. Like, I really do. And so I just enjoy the whole process. And I think that makes a huge difference is when you're actually enjoying yourself, even when it's really hard, even when you're like pushing, like holding a screening kid and pushing like too many suitcases and bags down a stupid like hallway where the carpet's broken and you're like, oh my God, it's taking every like last part of my reserve. I don't know. I just really love it.
Well, and also the very scenery that we're looking at, or I'm looking at over your shoulder, I think is probably part of how you can find the balance, right? Like you can
Yeah.
have this frenetic lifestyle, and then you know you're coming back to this place where just even looking out the window is going to give you something back.
Truly, like that is absolutely 100% how I do it. Like, where I live is just so beautiful. I live on a farm, in the snowy mountains. Every single window is incredible. When I wake up in the morning, I look outside and I just feel so grateful and I feel so calm. And I spend most of my day working out how I can do everything outside so that I can just be out in it. And that is definitely what helps balance it out.
And I think also, anyone who's grown up in the country as you have in Australia, driving 6 hours to somewhere is just nothing. It's, you know, everyone
Yeah.
I know from the bush is like, man, it's fine. You know, just get in the car. It's fine.
Yeah, I like car time. Like it's just like it's kind of, if I'm driving, my brain can think because I'm busy doing something, so then I can think about other stuff. So it's kind of good.
Yeah, I think a lot of great songs have been written, behind the wheel, just,
Yes.
obviously not actively, but this is all feeding into me talking about your next Australian tour, which is coming up
Okay.
in February. Now, this is not a country halls tour. This is a capital city tour. Does this
Yeah.
mean there will be no totem tennis, Fanny Lumsden?
Oh, I would never say never. I haven't ruled it out. Let's say that. But yeah, it is a capital city tour. We should have called it the Big Town Tour because I think just like as a little side note, one thing that people miss with all of these songs about small towns is that we actually don't call them small towns when you're in the country. You don't say, I'm just going to the small town. What you actually say is, I'm going to big town. Like that is actually what is said. I grew up saying, hey, where are you going? I'm going to big town. That means you're going to a like one with a big supermarket. So that's usually a few hours away. So anyway, that's just a little side note. So we're doing a big town tour, or a city tour, which is the first for us, and quite exciting to bring like these kind of, we've got new stories and new songs to share, and like it's going to be the start of a whole new era, which is exciting. I've been kind of just chomping at the bit to kind of start this whole new era. But yeah, we're just kind of teasing it out and start with the tour rather than start with kind of the singles and then just do one tour around the album. We thought we'd just like, we love touring, so we might as well do it.
Now, I know you do work in eras. So we had the Hey Dawn era, most
Mm,
recently we had the
yes.
Fallow era before that.
Yeah.
So when an era starts, is it like you get this feeling like, okay, I can feel this change coming and I'm shifting into it? Or is it actually like the idea, say for the album concept pops in your mind? I think, okay, this is what I want to pursue. This is how I'm starting it.
Oh, this is so fun for me. This is like the creation of the world is like maybe one of the funnest parts. I mean, I love all of it, like I said, but um, in the creative, as far as the creative process goes, this world has been building for years, actually. I knew like a year and a half ago exactly what this world was going to look like. I have just timing wise not had time to record an album. We're going to be working with a new producer, and I just haven't had like the logistical time to figure it out. And so it's been a bit slow coming. But yeah, I've had it. This one really was kind of like visually nutted out. Like I've been collecting the clothes. Like I know what colors. Like we've already done some of the photo shoots. Um, yeah, I know its essence already. Whereas with Hey Dawn, that was really different. Like Hey Dawn was like the songs kind of came first, and I was kind of waiting for it to arrive in a really woo-woo kind of way. But I mean, you write books, so like you know the creative process. But I was kind of waiting for the world to arrive, even in the recording process of Hey Dawn. It kind of came during that process, whereas this one, the world is already formed, fully formed.
Well, that's exciting. Also, very interesting news about a new producer, but I'll leave it for when there's when there's music
Yeah,
out.
you wait. Yeah, let us record it first.
Yeah. So, but for this upcoming tour, you have
hmm
4 albums worth of songs to choose from a set
Mm.
list, which is obviously too many, unfortunately. I would think there are some crowd favorites. Dig immediately comes to mind. Do you've played so many shows, you know how to manage audience energy. Do you lean towards the crowd favorites and think I'll give them what they want, or is it a case of giving people what they need?
Ooh, yeah, do obsess over the crowd energy and the flow. And I like as soon as shows end, I'm like talking about it with the band. Like I'm like, oh, that one needs to be cut next time. That can't happen in this kind of show. Like, or like even like we can do one verse of that song, but not two. Like, you know, like it's on, yeah, it depends on the audience and it depends on the types of show. So I do obsess over that quite a lot. Um, I am I think I try and do what you need. I think I was just I've never thought about it like that in those terms before, but I think it's need because but at the same time, like audience satisfaction is the main goal. Connection with everybody is the main goal. But there's always something else that's always driving the like the set and the story as well. So like it's not just like I'm not here just to please. Like it's like we want to create something that's a little deeper and has a little bit more connection in terms of like the storyline that I'm going to be telling and how the show's going to flow and we've put it like our show has actually quite it's changed quite a lot in the last couple of like even the last 12 months, I think. We've really put a lot of work into the show and how it flows. And it's got really energetic, much more energetic than it's ever been, which is wild. But that's really fun. But yeah, there's a lot of detail.
Well, there are more high kicks than there used to be, and also because anyone who's followed your socials know that from a completely unplanned jump onto your kilted brother's shoulders, it's a whole bit now in the show.
It is a bit. Yeah, that was absolutely accidental. We were at Mundi and I just I went to like kind of hip and shoulder him because he was doing a different move with the audience. Like I think he was clapping and I wanted them to wave. And I was just like being silly and we were just like at the end. So I went to hip and shoulder him, and as I kind of jumped, he just grabbed my leg and like flicked me onto his shoulders. And it was as much shock to me as it was to him as it was to the rest of the band that first time. And luckily we caught it on camera because all the rest of the band members just have their mouths open like, what is going on? Because we'd never done anything like that before. And so that kind of like opens like a can of worms for me, really. Because then I was like, oh, I've been cartwheeling since I was a tiny girl. I got banned in primary school because cartwheels got banned at my tiny school at Toowoomba, where there was 26 kids in total, because I couldn't walk. All I would do was cartwheels. So like I was like, oh, I'm just going to start bringing some of these silliness into the show. And yeah, since then, but yeah, now we do it with the audience member. Tom's been banned from the. I don't hop on his shoulders anymore. Actually, his neck and shoulders are sacred, so we don't go on his shoulders anymore.
Yes, but the kilt remains.
The kilt
I
remains.
feel there is no going back to overalls for Tom Lumsden.
Absolutely not. He is a kilt man through and through. I've actually just like never seen such a like. It felt like he'd been wearing it his whole life. When he started wearing it, like everyone's just like, why does that look like you were born in it? Like,
It's true.
so funny. I mean, we are Scottish. All my four, like my four grandparents, are all from Scotland. So, like, I mean, I suppose that helps. And like my dad's dad and his whole like they all grew up in Scotland, and so like it's very much part of our family culture as well. So like that, it's not like a random thing. And whenever we go there, Tom always just comments on just like how his body feels so right there. So like it kind of all fits in. It is good on stage.
Look, it does. And it's a good visual counterpoint. I won't go too much further into this, but anyone who
Yeah.
wants to see the whole expression of what's on stage needs to come to a show. I also
Yes.
would like to mention that with each of your shows, you do a VIP ticket component. And I'm mentioning this because I always take that ticket because it's not just, oh, hello, meet and greet, shaking hands. You actually perform
Yeah.
and you answer questions, and it's a significant element to the show. So you obviously take that quite seriously. But I also realized that with some artists it could deplete their energy, but with you it actually seems to add, if that makes sense.
I'm so glad you can read that. That's funny. Yes, I do. I get so much from it because the connection is what I'm craving, like everybody else, I think, in this world. And I think that the more feedback that I get from a show, the better it feels. And so that's one on one. Like we're just all just in this little tiny group. And I love that part. We did a tour last year, which you were at, which was pretty much just an entire show of that. Just questions and some acoustic songs and some silly talking and some silly stories. And I absolutely love it. Like I think that is really important part. And I found really funny when I've done touring where I haven't got to do any kind of meet and greet or like merch or anything like that. I always leave feeling really weird because I don't know, I just love chatting to people and hearing what they have to say, and it's fun.
Now, in all of your shows, the age range of the audience can go from babies to people in their 90s. There are often children there. It's a very broad church, as the saying
Mm.
goes. So I'm wondering if you have identified a reason why you think your songs appeal to that many people. Because that's quite unusual, I think.
I try not to think too hard about it actually. I try not to think too hard about why my music connects or appeals to anyone actually, strangely. Because I feel like the minute I start doing that, I'll overcook it.
Right.
So I like when I'm writing, I definitely like all my songs start from flow state anyway. So like I don't like I write the song usually and work out what it's about during the process or after. So I'm never writing a song being like, this needs to appeal to a grandma and a baby. I'm just like, I don't know, they just come out of me and then we just trying to figure it out. I am so appreciative though. Like I love that we have kids. Like one, I just love that the parents get to come because I didn't have to get a babysitter. Like that's great. Two, I think that it's awesome because we have now are seeing these kids. We've been playing long enough to see that they're coming on their own now as like young adults or teenagers because they came as kids with their families. And so like I'm just future proofing. But like at the same time, it's just like beautiful to have that connection with the whole family. I think that is probably my biggest demographic is like we're a family band in that so many whole families, they like us as a family. It's not like someone's individual kind of thing. More often it's like, oh, this is what we do as a family. Like dads and daughters seems to be this little sub like demo we have, like heaps of dads and daughters. And I'm just like so here for it.
Yeah, I think it's part of it would be that the detail in your songs, because you tell these stories with specific details. Ugly Flowers is a song that comes to mind, for example. Um, that the specific is universal, so that people can find
Mm.
themselves in those
Yeah.
songs. They can relate it to their own lives, and it may not be 7 cakes on the table for birthdays, but they can think about their own family birthdays too. So I mean, that's a comment more than a question, but I do look around and think, well, everyone here is happy. You know, that's the other common denominator of your shows. People are smiling all the time. It can be hard to get Australians to show enthusiasm. I think what we talked about, what you mentioned earlier in this conversation, in the UK, they show up. You know, they're enthusiastic. They're at the front of the stage. Australians tend to be harder to impress, but at your shows, everyone's happy, and what an amazing thing to offer.
Yeah, I think that that is one of my main goals. Even though I really value and I really like writing about serious things, when we're performing and when we're doing the shows, it's all about joy. Like it's all about silliness. Like I don't like there's not one time that I'm thinking about being cool. I don't really know how to do that. Like in that sense, you know what I mean? Like it's just we just want everyone to come and like forget about everything for a minute and just remember that they can just, I don't know, be silly.
Now you're starting in Perth, and I have seen occasionally people leave a comment on social media, my social media, saying, "Oh, I wish people would come to Perth because a lot of artists don't." It is logistically tricky for a lot of artists, but of course, this is no barrier to you. You've just toured the UK with children.
That's right. That's right. As if we were going to forget Perth. Yeah, we're starting the tour off in Perth actually, which is really exciting. I just love it over there. The same, I think it has that same kind of energy like where that going to halls and stuff does because not many people go out there to play. Everyone's just awesome. Like they're just such great audiences and great communities. So yeah, Perth,
Perth, and then wending your way around other big towns.
big
As
towns.
discussed, people can go to your website for all the details. I would imagine there'll be some new merch as well. I'm certainly due for some new Fanny Lumsden t-shirts, so I'm looking forward to that.
We are actually, Dan and I have just been like nutting out all the creative like this last couple of days. And it's so fun. It's so fun to have a new theme, so fun to have some time to do it. Usually we're just like last minute, like, but yeah, we're having a lot of fun.
All right, Fanny, you just got a bit muffled, but that's okay because I'm wrapping up anyway. So I'm going to say thank you very much for your time. Great to talk to you.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Yeah.